It's on now. All right. Now we're all set. So good afternoon, everyone. It's really my great pleasure to welcome you to this high-level panel co-organized by EBRD and the COP28 presidency, which builds on one of the key themes of this morning's ministerial, scaling up finance for sustainable infrastructure, but more importantly, scaling it up for cities, empowering them to be masters of their own fate. The role of cities in tackling the climate emergency is unequivocal. Currently, nearly 60% of the global population live in cities, and it's growing. And let's not forget that 75% of global greenhouse gas emissions come from cities. Investing in green and resilient infrastructure in cities directly therefore presents a huge opportunity to mitigate and adapt to climate change, reduce air pollution, environmental degradation, and most importantly, improve the lives of their citizens. That is what the EBRD's flagship urban program, EBRD Green Cities, was developed to address. At the core of this program is working with the cities to prioritize environmental challenges and develop a Green City Action Plan, or GCAP as we call them, to tackle through policy interventions and sustainable infrastructure investments. We currently have 60 green cities, and it's very nice to have many of our family here. We have 3 on our panel: Warsaw, Istanbul, and our newest family member, Gülmim. So this event is about scaling up finance, and so I'm extremely pleased to announce that the Green Climate Fund recently approved an expansion of their dedicated facility for EBRD Green Cities to include 6 new countries: Bosnia-Herzegovina, Tajikistan, Morocco, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyz Republic, and Uzbekistan. And more importantly, expanded the sectoral coverage to include energy. So a big shout out to GCF, because this means we can bring more blended finance to our projects with our green cities. So, to set the stage for the panel, I'm really delighted to welcome our keynote speaker, Dr. Mahmoud Mohiuddin, no stranger to COPs, a UN climate change high-level champion. Dr. Mohiuddin's career, Dr. Mohiuddin, will you? Dr. Mohiuddin's career spans across academia, I will give you this lectern in a minute, across academia, government, and international organizations. He is the UN Special Envoy of Financing the 2030 Agenda since February 2020, and he played the key role in COP27, held in his native Egypt last year. Including his wealth of expertise in development and sustainable finance, Dr. Mohiuddin, as a high-level champion, plays a pivotal role in rallying state and non-state players towards effective climate action. His efforts have helped realize climate mitigation ambition, advance climate adaptation efforts, and bridge public and private sector efforts. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Mohiuddin.
Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to address the mayors, leaders of cities, dwellers around the world, represented through you, and of course, everyone around here listening to us and following this important inclusion of those who have the bigger responsibility in dealing with climate action priorities. As mentioned in the introductory remarks, 80% of the problem, 80% of the emissions are in cities. But again, the solutions, through changes in consumption patterns and production patterns, can and should come from cities. This COP28, hosted in the UAE, started us off great news by the establishment of the Loss and Damage Fund. But that great news shouldn't have been really celebrated as such if we're doing a better job in the first line of defense, which is mitigation and reducing emissions, which the global system had failed in achieving, and that's why we are requiring more investments, more support for the second line of defense, which is an adaptation, and the cities are very much front and center of the adaptation agenda of Sharm el-Sheikh, as you all know. For the first time ever since the Paris Agreement, the opportunities for partnership led by cities had been spelled out in different ways. Water systems, food systems and agriculture consumed by city citizens. You cannot live in a city without those basic supplies, essentials for life. And then, of course, the investments required in settlements, in cities, in urban dwellers, and in rural as well. Those who are like leading the work in different countries like mine, sometimes, and I go to my village every other month or so, and more frequently now, given the hosting of the COP here and last year in Egypt, sometimes I still call it a village while it is officially called Medina or a city, but it still has a great deal of features of a village because the dependence on farming and agriculture, the habits, the culture, very much there, reminding you of the old village, but again, officially it's called city. In many aspects of work, sometimes you fall into the problems of taxonomy. When you talk about urban, and then you divide that, you say rural, and the fact of life could be like rurban, like some of my friends at the World Bank remind us that you are, in some cases, in between rural and urban, and that needs a particular kind of attention. However, having said that, the adaptation agenda is going as well into areas related to desertification, and many of your cities are threatened by desertification. We're talking as well about deforestation as a problem, and many of your cities are threatened by the deterioration in forests, and there is investments required when it comes to the coastal areas, and many of your cities are threatened by the rising sea level. Having said that, and in many years, we have seen cities getting more responsibilities. You are in the front line, not just in dealing with climate change, but with people needs. If your life is better, it's because of your city or your town or your village is better in terms of education, health system, and providing the essential of services. So this is basically reminding everybody about the obvious. I can tell you that there was an enormous mistake for many years that climate action was separated for SDG action. SDG 11 was not mentioned. The work required in localization, and I don't like, with all due respect to the different theories here about those who are enthusiasts toward the center or decentralization, I don't use these terms. I use more localization because it's more about impact. It's more about realizing the comparative advantage of the center and the comparative advantage that cannot be substituted by the city leaders and what they are doing. So we're talking more now about localization. In this very COP, I'm happy that there is more than 1,000 mayors are here in different events and activities. And by having the mayors and their leadership and the communities with them, we are reminded that we cannot really go into that ridiculous reductionist approach for climate action to mean only some aspects of the work, but we need the holistic, system-wide approach because your citizens are requiring this system-wide delivery. And you are not and cannot be able to separate your investment in education and health from the investments required in infrastructure, your investment required in the resilience of building, the resilience required in transformation of technology to enhance the service, the investment required in order to make your cities sustainable based on the climate action and the adaptation agenda at large. Gaps of finance, I encourage you please to read the report that we came up supporting. This is the next turn and Vera Songwe report about the global gaps. It's in the trillions, $2.4 trillion need to be enhanced and financed to developing economies and emerging markets with China. Can I ask you please, check if this is relevant to you or not. Get this methodology, not at the global level 40,000 feet, not at the regional level that I'm working on, and there are lots of good work between the city mayors at the regional level as well, but not even at the national level, but at the city level. And this was my challenge to Nextern and Verasongwi, can really get that trickle down to the city level. Is the mobilization of capital and finance relevant to your argument? Can we do a better job going forward? Then I'll leave you with my final point. When I was preparing with colleagues for COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh, that ended up with success, alhamdulillah, as we say, and here is going to be with success as well because of good preparations. I was just asked many times, because I have the pleasure of checking on my village, because my family is still there, every day in the morning, I call my family there. And they say, well, congratulations, you now, climate champion, nice title added to your many other titles, but what's in it for us? What's in it for us is basically what you can do. If you can really mobilize finance for better access to energy and reduce the cost to be more affordable. If you can mobilize the funds available, including the $30 billion, the Green Climate Fund replenishment, the opportunities coming from the multilateral development system, to make that of support to what you are doing. This is basically the active translation to that. Until that happened, I led a project for information and enhancement of learning by mobilizing the Green Smart Initiative, through which we managed to answer why what we're doing here in Dubai today, what we're doing in Egypt last year, and what we're going to be doing in a couple of years in Brazil. I don't know what I'm going to be doing next year exactly, but we all know at some time. But there will be a COP and will be more of the arguments, especially in finance. So here is basically about bringing the citizens as part of the solutions. They are not just passive recipients. And this interactive way resulted in the best ideas. I come from a background, with all this due respect to global or national or local leaderships. People know better, and you are coming from the people serving them, and you have the opportunity to enhance what we can deliver better on finance, in technology, on incentives to improve the world going ahead. Thank you so much, and it's a great opportunity to speak to you. Thank you.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Dr. Mehdi, for these very important remarks and reminding us the importance of localization, of action and impact. So I think this has really set the scene, because we have amongst us some leaders who really do know how to act and how to create impact for the people living in their cities. And so without much ado, let me introduce our 5 distinguished panelists. We've got leaders from 3 EBRD green cities, from Turkey, Poland, and Morocco, complemented by leading voices from the private sector and the multilateral development bank community. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce and invite up to join us on the panel, Madam Mabarka Boyadia. And Madam, be a little careful, this is very steep, you may want to use the side steps. President of the Association of Moroccan Regions and President of the Gilmim Wade Noon region. But today, Madam Boyadia is not only representing her region, but she's the president of all the regions of Morocco. She's also a champion of decentralization. We are welcoming today, actually, the Gilmin Wade Noon to the Green Cities program. And at the end of the panel, we are actually going to sign our first sub-sovereign local currency project in Morocco, which is to enhance the efficiency and sustainability of water supply services in the region. Gulmian region also has some of the best sun and wind in the world, and great potential as a major renewable and green hydrogen player for both the national and international markets, and I'm sure we'll hear more about that. Ekrem Emagoglu, my friend, the mayor of Istanbul, one of our strongest partners, and leader of one of our I was actually pleased to be in Istanbul just a couple of weeks ago for the launch of the city's Green City Action Plan. Istanbul has also recently announced, and I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say this, but it's so exciting, their first green bond. And I'm hoping that we will hear more about that and how local mobilization of finance is so key. Rafał Czakowski, mayor of Warsaw, who leads a city already firmly committed and on track to being climate neutral by 2050. Warsaw recently completed its Green City and Climate Action Plan, prepared in collaboration with the C40. And it is worth noting that Mayor Tchaikovsky was part of the delegation of only 12 mayors and governors specifically invited by the COP28 president, Dr. Sultan Al-Jaber, to attend the World Climate Action Summit. Another great friend and partner, Thierry Dault, CEO and founder of Meridiam, a specialized investment fund focusing on emerging market sustainable infrastructure. Thierry leads a world-class team that is already deeply involved in countries in the EBRD region, from emerging market transport and logistics to urban mobility, water, and social infrastructure. Meridiam is a true pioneer, leading the way into new markets. And Meridiam is also showing the way into cities with their new Urban Resilience Fund, or TURF as they call it. We hope to hear more about that from Thierry later. And last but by no means least, one of our biggest supporters, Astrid Manroth. Wonderful to have the recently appointed head of the Global Infrastructure Facility here with us. GIF is an entity that facilitates the preparation and structuring of complex sustainable infrastructure public-private partnerships, enabling the mobilization of private sector and institutional investor capital, all done in deep collaboration with its MDB partners. And we're very proud of the fact that I understood from Astrid yesterday that the EBRD is their second largest partner. We're very grateful for all the support GIF gives us to prepare projects. And one very great example of a green city project supported by them is the 6th October Dry Port PPP, which we did in Egypt and was a trigger for the 6th October city to become a member of the EBRD Green Cities Network. So welcome, Astrid, and congratulations on your new role. So let's get the discussion going. Mayor Imamoglu, I'm going to start with you. Istanbul is a global, historical, beautiful megacity, grappling with many urban and climate challenges, but with the added complexity of scale. So Istanbul is developing now a Green City Action Plan to complement the Climate Change Action Plan you already have. Could you share your views on how you think these strategic plans actually help you prioritize your investment needs and actually help you access finance?
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here with my friends from Warsaw and the mayor of Warsaw and the other leaders and all of you. Thank you very much. I'm happy, and also I'm happy for your innovation to be with you here. I hope to see you as soon as possible in Istanbul again. And good afternoon. First of all, really I wish to express my sincere appreciation to our valued partners in the Green City Initiative, EBRD, for extending the innovation to speak on this panel together with distinguished colleagues. Recognizing the urgent need for sustainability, Istanbul has carefully crafted two strategic blueprints: the Green City Action Plan and the Climate Change Action Plan. These initiatives aim to pave the way for a more ecologically conscious urban landscape. The plans play a vital role in facilitating Istanbul's access to finance for their climate objectives. They are also compelling documents for potential investors and financial institutions. Allow me to illustrate how our action roadmap contributes to financing Istanbul's sustainability efforts, which is evident in our recent expansions within the metro system. Let me provide some context. Istanbul relies heavily on wheeled transportation. In 2019, the primary mode of public transport was the highway, mainly buses serving a daily passenger count of 11.7 million. This amount to 77.1% of all public transport users. The IETT, the public bus operator of Istanbul, manages 4 million rides daily, a scale unmatched in any European city. Our goal of transforming Istanbul into a carbon-neutral and climate-resilient city by 2050 necessitates achieving sustainable urban mobility. Thus, our vision is to shift Istanbul's focus towards a rail-centric city infrastructure. Istanbul has experienced an impressive expansion of the urban rail network with a remarkable 65-kilometer increase in less than 5 years, averaging an annual growth of 13 kilometers. The significant advancement owes itself entirely to the focused allocation of municipal, financial, and human resources. A financial tool in aiding cities reach their climate targets is green bonds. In November last month, IMM, our municipality successfully issued Turkey's first municipal green bond valued at $715 million with a maturity of 5 years on the London Stock Exchange. Thus, we achieved half of Turkey's 2023 green bond target independently. The milestone breaks records. It also boosts the country's foreign currency inflow. With interest from 200 plus global investment institutions, our green initiatives are gaining international recognition. This successful initiative was a direct result of our vision for a greener and environmentally sustainable Istanbul. Financially speaking, projects geared towards mitigation, particularly those centered on electric initiatives, often secure funding more readily. However, for megacities like Istanbul, prioritizing adaptation projects is becoming increasingly essential. These initiatives involve reinforcing infrastructures against floods, water shortages, and the day-to-day impacts of climate change, while investments in parks are aimed at safeguarding our citizens. There is also an urgent need for financial support to strengthen our existing infrastructure. It is important to note that the stark reality is that some cities and nations are more climate vulnerable than others. Istanbul has been identified as the most vulnerable city to coastal climate change impact in Europe. Throughout 2023, Istanbul recorded historically high temperatures leading to severe droughts and at the same time faced concurrent floods. Extreme weather conditions caused by climate change are already at Istanbul doorstep. Even as Istanbul takes measure to mitigate its climate change impact, it is crucial to recognize the need for a wider collective effort to ensure climate justice. We will work on it all together with Istanbulized 16 million people. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Amir. And thank you for reminding us that, yes, we all focus on mitigation, but I think as Dr. Mohiuddin also said, the harder thing is adaptation and climate justice, and we all need to make much more of an effort to find a way to get those projects done, and I'm hoping we can hear from the private sector in a while as to how we might find some creative ways.
New metro lines, yeah.
Mayor Tchaikovsky, Rafael, you lead a city firmly committed and on track, I believe, to being climate neutral by 2050. And you also recently completed an action plan in collaboration with the C40. Tell us, what are your two top priorities in that plan? What are the two things that keep you up at night? And what are the things that you see are absolutely essential for you to meet that ambitious target?
Well, I'm going to use that opportunity to tell you much more. First of all, how you doing, guys? Are you okay? It's pretty chilly in here. First of all, I wanted to thank you very much for the invitation. I mean, it's always a great pleasure to be with such incredible people on the panel. Ekrem, my good friend from Istanbul. I wanted to thank EBRD because if it weren't for you, I mean, we wouldn't have prepared GCAP so quickly. And it is very important that we can engage in financing because we need the money, and I'm going to address that question in a second. And of course, thanks to our cooperation with EBRD, we can invest in our public transportation. We need a lot of money in order to do that. Now, yes, we want to make Warsaw climate neutral by 2050. We've just won the election, so the crazy populists are out, so maybe we can do it quicker because we are very much dependent on the energy mix that Poland has, and the new government will speed up our transition to renewables. We have actually undertaken a more ambitious goal within 100 climate cities within the European Union because we want to make part of our city climate neutral by 2030. And now, we are very much prepared. We are in some of the organizations where we can exchange our views, do benchmarking, and even influence some of the EU legislation because I'm a proud member of the Committee of the Regions, but of course also C40 and Global Covenant of Mayors. But we are here to discuss the money, okay? Show me the money, guys. I mean, that's the name of the game. And now, I wanted to tell you that if you want to meet some of those priorities, we need to talk seriously about what we need to do. And for the first time at COP, cities and regions are taken seriously. We are not here just to watch the negotiations and feature on different panels, but actually try to drive the message home. You want to really seriously fight climate change, you got to do it with the cities, you got to do it with the regions. We are there on the front line implementing some of those measures, and tell you what, we are more ambitious and more progressive than some of the member states in the world. Now, some of that you can achieve with not that much money, because if we do pilot projects, if we start engaging people, raise awareness, and so on and so forth, you don't need that much. And we can do it through pilot projects, and that is happening with the help of EBRD, also the European Commission, when it comes to the members of the European Union. 6 years ago, I was trying to explain it to my friends in the European Commission and in the European Parliament that that's what you should do. Have a bit of direct financing going directly to the cities. And of course, everyone thought I was crazy. I didn't know how the European Union works. Well, it happened. It happened. We have 100 green cities thanks to Franz Timmermans. Now, we need to drive that point home, and we need to engage and think about other measures where institutions such as EBRD and other banks can actually help us be even more serious. Because we start with pilot projects, we start implementing some of those measures, and we do quite a lot because, of course, we have public transportation, we have eliminated most of the fossil fuel boilers from our city. But if you really want to get serious, and if you really want to engage with the cities, then we have to think about more financing, which would directly hit the cities. You want to do retrofitting? That's billions. You want to do energy efficiency? That's billions. You want to really invest in public transportation? That's billions. And we have the projects ready. Most of the cities have projects ready. So it's a question of thinking how to create a synergy. And that's why the CHAMP initiative, which has been announced by the presidency, is so important. Because it is the cities who can actually help states deliver on nationally determined contributions. And if you think like that, this is not going to be some mayors telling states, you know, let's hear our ambitions, our messages, but it's about creating synergies where we can help states arrive at those goals that they set for themselves. And that's the name of the game. And here, and that's my last message with which I will close, if we put our heads together, the states, international institutions, cities, regions, and the private sector, and we think for solutions so that we can actually gather money together and distribute it in a way which is the most effective, and work with the guys who are really implementing those measures, then we can move the world into the right direction. And we can not only start doing it with small pilot projects, but do it with really huge investment that is needed for us to fight climate change in a serious way. And guys, we are the ones walking the streets of the cities. We're not, you know, driving in limos like some of the ministers. So people grab us by the hand, young people, and tell us, deliver, do something about it. So if you want to be effective, do it with us. And people will thank you, especially the young generation. So it's also good for public relations reasons, which is good for all the private sector. Work with us, guys.
Good message.
Thank you very much. Thank you for reminding us again that you really are at the front lines. And so now I'm going to turn to Madam Mabarka. I'm delighted to welcome the Gilmim region. And it's quite unusual because most of our members of the Green Cities are cities. You are one of the first regions to join this network. And one of the reasons we're so pleased to have you join us is because you've really, within Morocco, been taking the lead on fiscal decentralization. And you're showing the way as a region that you can actually raise that much needed finance directly. And today we're going to sign our first water project with you. So will you tell us a little bit about the project, of course, and your priorities, but also how did you achieve this fiscal decentralization? And how do you see fiscal decentralization being so important in supporting your region do more?
Well, first, thank you so much, Nandita, for inviting me to this panel. And thank you all, because I was listening to my colleagues from Istanbul and Warsaw, and I think very nice and strong messages have been said already. Just maybe to introduce for people who are present here, I'm heading a region in Morocco called the region of Gilmim Wadnoun, and also called the Gate of the Sahara. Morocco, we have 12 regions, and some of my colleagues are present with us here today from Dakhla, from Rabat, the capital. My region is about 65,000 square kilometers, and we have almost 450,000 people living in the region. So it's not a big density. We're not talking about Istanbul, but we're talking about a region with a lot of challenges, 4 provinces suffering definitely from climate change, from drought, from water scarcity, and of course suffering from unemployment, a very high rate of unemployment. Since 2015, actually, decentralization started in Morocco a long time ago, but since 2015, Morocco has been going through a new big reform based on what we call advanced regionalization. That means that the central government is given more and more priorities and prerogatives to elected people regionally, and we have 12 regions. This is a big step forward to democracy, to give much more responsibility to people, and we're going also through deconcentration for the administration and government districts. So what is this decentralization? We're having some prerogative, not all the prerogative, but the process is going on. And the reality of the ground makes things happen fastly and gives us a sort of new dynamics. Speaking about water scarcity, for example, it's always been a central competence, and it has always been decided and also managed by central government. Looking at the problems we are facing, at the challenges we are facing, there is what we call a national program for drinkable water and irrigation. It's been set up under the royal guidance of His Majesty Mohammed VI. And this plan is for 7 years, from 2020 to 2027, with a lot of actions, such as desalination plants all over Morocco, etc. But when we started implementing this plan, we easily and fastly realized that it's not enough. We should probably do more. We should probably involve regions, territories, as you said before. The actions are done in the cities, in the regions, and not at the central level. So we've been all involved. In my case, in the case of Gelmi Mouadnoun, we have thought all our regional development plan in the next 5 years through all these challenges. We thought that we cannot get any development if we don't take into account the climate change challenges, and if we don't have real objectives according to SDGs, according to what happens all over the world. So we have decided, sorry. I'm sorry. Take a moving a lot. Sorry. Is it easier with this?
That's okay.
It's okay. So we have decided to go through low decarbonization process by 2035, and then with a retrospective to say, or to see what we can do. And of course, for water scarcity, we have made a very ambitious plan based on the central government plans, but we think we have literally enriched this plan with different actions. I remember first day we met with the EBRD, that was 2 years ago, and we were talking about desalination plant in Tantan, and now it will hopefully it will be a reality by next year. We will start, actually. But we have started discussions first from the desalination plan, and things moved forward, and we went to other actions since we have, I think, we have really fixed different objectives for water. What we're going to sign today, and I'm very happy to sign it with the EBRD today, is a loan contract for 2 main actions, starting with 2 main actions that goes directly to the population and to improve life quality in our 4 cities. First one concerned the reuse of water waste within 5 plants, including the 4 provinces, with a budget of 148 million dirham, which is about $14.8 million. And the other one is about how to improve and to purify drinkable water in rural communities in the area of Gelmim, near Gelmim and Bizakan, with a budget of, I think, 113 million dirhams, which is something like $11.3 million. These are the 2 actions we are starting today with the assistance and the financing of the EBRD. I'm really happy to do it and to have this partnership, since in fact we cannot do all what we want alone, as you already said, Mayor. We have to look for other source of financing. And I think the legal framework now in Morocco gives us this possibility to raise funds at the national level and at the international level. It gives us the possibility to go to public and private partnership, and it gives us the possibility to share experience with others. And I'm really happy to have this partnership with the EBRD, not only because it's about money. I think it's about credibility of the EBRD, experience, expertise, and I do encourage all the cities and regions in Morocco to have partnership with international institutions. And it's not only about money, it's mainly about how to share experience, how to learn from each other, how to transfer know-hows, and I think it makes sort of collective intelligence between all of us, and this is what we really need to do. So yes, I don't know, you stop me whenever you want. Yes, we have a very ambitious plan for water scarcity, starting with these 2 projects, but not only these 2 projects. We have also the objective to extend the purification of drinkable water in rural communities to different areas in the region, based on participative approach with population, of course, with all the local institutions and with the central institution. There is, in terms of governance, right now, Morocco has just voted new law to create what we call local companies for multi-service companies, actually, regional multi-service companies, and that will be the new way of management, which is very important. Of course, regional council are directly involved on this, together with the national and the central government. There is a high committee coordinating all the actions concerning water. We have 2 desalination plants projects in the region for drinkable water and also irrigation. We think that what we're doing now for water, it's not only it's not only a solution for today, but it's a preventive solution for tomorrow, to guarantee drinkable water, but to guarantee also economic growth. It's really important through agriculture, but through tourism, through renewable energies and different other, let's say, sectors or economic sectors we want to develop.
Thank you very much, and thank you for those very nice words about EBRD as well. You know, the one key theme definitely coming out here is cities need financing. And for cities to need financing, they need help from multilateral development banks and others to help prepare these projects, present these projects. And for that, I'm going to turn to Astrid, because Astrid sits at the head of the Global Infrastructure Facility, which has a mandate for preparing projects, in particular to attract private investment in infrastructure. So Astrid, tell us, how do you see the Global Infrastructure Facility supporting the mayors and heads of region you've heard today to attract the financing that they need?
Thank you so much, Nandita, for inviting us to this very important debate, and thank you to EBRD for wonderful collaboration, and also to the COP28 presidency to really putting cities at the heart of the debate. And it's not just cities at the heart of the climate debate, as we just heard. They account for 75% of current emissions, but also with 70% of the global population projected to live in cities by 2050, cities are also extremely important to solve the development challenge. So the two here really coincide. And in order to scale up financing for green and sustainable cities, we need to start by scaling up the preparation of bankable projects. We are all aware that actually the financial challenge is such that the public sector alone will not be able to pay the bill, and that we also need to bring in the private sector, help us rise to the challenge. And that's exactly what the Global Infrastructure Facility was designed to do. We were created in 2014 as a G20 initiative with the objective to support national and municipal governments in the preparation of sustainable, climate-smart, resilient and also inclusive infrastructure projects for private sector investment. So that's what we have been doing over the past almost decades. It's an established facility. And we have increasingly been doing this in the urban space as well, in a wonderful partnership with EBRD. Nandita already mentioned the Egypt dry port program. I think it's a good example on how infrastructure can actually help address the climate challenge by taking freight traffic off the roads, making it a clean transport mode through rail connectivity, reducing CO2 emissions, reducing diesel consumption in the process. And having successfully done so with one dry port, Egypt has now embarked on a whole program of subsequent dry ports that we also support in its preparation. And this programmatic approach then provides an opportunity, A, to get to scale faster in terms of the impact and the climate impact, but also B, offering standardized programmatic solutions for private investors who, as you heard this week, are really looking to invest larger ticket sizes to reach scale also in the deployment of their funding. So those are a couple of examples that the Global Infrastructure Facility has supported. We also have supported the development of a program in Brazil, actually, for energy efficient street lighting. Again, street lighting is another important cost factor for municipalities. Moving this to LED is a big cost saving, and there we have partnered with Caixa, a local national bank actually, and also built their capacity to not only bring in local currency finance, but then going forward to structure these kind of financings on their own, so to amplify and replicate the impact we can have going forward. And last but not least, the Global Infrastructure Facility is part of the G20 Infrastructure Working Group, and as such we have last year collaborated with the urban development practice of the World Bank in putting together a report on inclusive cities and really highlighting how we all must collaborate together. So everyone sitting in this panel today has a crucial role, and of course under the leadership of the visionary mayors we're listening to today, to really increase inclusivity with regards to access to quality infrastructure services, but also access to spaces and to markets for the population of cities, and to do that by improved planning, improved connectivity, but also then, of course, improved financing. So we really look forward to working with all of you to rise to the challenge and getting private municipal infrastructure finance and climate finance to scale. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Astrid. That is really very, very impressive. And we're looking forward to working with you on preparing more of those projects and also hopefully putting adaptation and finding ways to do more. Because I think there really is a call today for how do we not just do the projects, the easy ones for mitigation, but how are we going to help these cities with their adaptation needs? And now let me turn to the private sector. Thierry, you know, you're actually a pioneer because you are already thinking about urban infrastructure investing. And you're doing this through a very interesting blended finance urban resilience fund. And which actually targets some of the cities that are here with us. Can you tell us more about this fund and other initiatives that you're working on specifically to unlock private sector investment in cities?
Well, thank you, Nandita, and thank you for inviting me. I noticed that in those panels, always the private sector speaks last. But it's because we're supposed to bring solutions.
Exactly.
But joke aside, I think facts, 80% of the SDGs that have to be delivered in cities. And unfortunately, 20% of the money goes to cities. So it's a bit of an imbalance. And we're talking beyond climate, but all the sustainable development goals. The other sort of negative is there's a perception from the investor community that project preparation, governance is more complicated in cities because sometimes of a lack of capacity. And also, which is a fact, cities or regions' creditworthiness is sub-sovereign, so less than sovereign credit. So the Urban Resilience Fund was trying to really overcome these challenges. So focusing on cities for resilience, but also adaptation, which is quite a sort of a difficult subsector to invest in. So the idea of the funds, because we joined forces with the Rockefeller Foundation and also the UNCDF for this, addressing both Europe and also emerging markets with these funds in different pockets. But the idea was, okay, addressing project preparation, governance with some catalytic capital provided by the Rockefeller Foundation, PAGE, and the US government under DFC to really address this strategic thinking, engagement and consultation with stakeholders, and also preparing projects that are critical for the cities. The second larger pot of money has been the real blended finance instrument that allows us to invest or to provide investors with equivalent risk reward as if they were dealing with a sovereign government. And that's at least the goal. That we're really providing a layer of first loss that has been delivered by EIB with the support of the government of Luxembourg and Rockefeller Foundation, and a senior debt to enhance return from DFC, the US government, and a number of investors and over DFIs coming into sort of the private equity part of this fund. And that's an important feature. Also, the duration is an important feature, because the number, especially when you deal with adaptation, the years necessary to recover are quite long. So we're talking beyond 20 years here. And to give you examples of what the kind of things that these things deliver, both on resilience and all SDGs, and just not climate, but clear example of this is the city of Marseille in France, an educational platform, very much digital driven for dropouts and young adults to really, and this is all supported by an ecosystem of businesses of the city with the city to actually recreate an ecosystem where kids can retrain, or young adults can retrain. In the city of Olsztyn in Poland, this is about an energy partnership. So really identifying a platform of small projects that makes a difference in terms of decarbonizing the city's energy, or in terms of adaptation in the emerging market. We signed a few months ago a joint venture, and after many years of preparation with this catalytic capital facility with the city of Nouakchott on a 50-50 basis to actually build the coastline protection for Nouakchott, which has been eroded and is being eroded. It's between the desert and the sea erosion, and redeveloping the land that is being created and being brought by the city for economic activities, commercial activities, over social activities, parks and things like that. And that does to really recover the economics from these externalities does require quite a long time. And this is where we're hitting the adaptation difficulties, but with a fund that is very much blended finance and supported, investors then are comfortable with a lower level of risk and a reasonable return that they will have to recover for a long time, but in a fairly secured way.
Thank you very much, Thierry. And I'm assuming after this panel, we are going to be looking at projects in Istanbul, in Warsaw, and in Gmelin with you. So you can't leave without walking away with some commitments to actually
we already had ideas about energy efficiency on the Istanbul park of housing, social housing. So
excellent. So let me just say a big thank you to all our panelists here for really, I think we've got one very clear message, and this is the message that cities have to be front and center of the climate action and SDG agenda. Finance needs to flow directly to cities because cities are best placed to deliver. We've heard about the projects, the sort of transformational projects of road to rail, the impact this can have on national commitments for emissions. Because cities have the projects with not only the biggest impact for mitigation, but they're also on the front line for adaptation. And it's not enough for the public sector. We need the private sector. And the good news today is the private sector is gearing up to invest in cities. So thank you again to our panel. Thank you for being here with us. But please, I know we're running a little late, but don't run away. We have actually a wonderful video that Madame Bouak has brought with her to show her region to us. So if you have the time, please, can I ask panelists we sit in the front row and we all watch this video. And then it's a short one, and then we will sign our loan. So thank you.
Welcoming land with rich diversity and potentials. The Gone region prides itself for its spacious geographical expanse with multiple touristic facets. The Gone region involves diverse attractions, including coasts, plains, mountains, oases and deserts. Gone is a territory where several cultures coexist, particularly the Amazigh and the Hassani cultures. Being a distinctive overlap between the sea and the desert, the maritime front of the Gone region is interspersed with numerous picturesque beaches spreading over 240 kilometres. Gone draws its magic from both the plurality of its beliefs and the variety of its historical as well as archaeological heritage. The region is a concentrated locus of diverse landscape, offering distinct pleasures of relaxation and well-being, sport and leisure, discovery and adventure, arts and cultures. Rooted in history, Gone has always been a meeting point of numerous civilizations. Beside the Amazigh constituent, the Hassani culture is an inseparable component of the region's cultural identity. The region is also famous for the warmth of its inhabitants and their sense of hospitality that are deeply rooted in their Bedouin traditions. The Gone region was and always will remain a land of welcome, diversity and potential.
And we're going to sign our loan. But just before that, we actually just got, Heike has just come with some real live, very good news. Morocco just committed to going to net zero by 2050. The Minister of Energy just made that announcement. We've been waiting for that announcement during this COP. We heard your king was here, and we thought His Majesty was going to make that announcement. So congratulations on that. And if we could now just have our signing.
And get me one done by 2035, since we can control it. Sign here, I think. This is mine. I think, no, this is the bank. Yeah, but you do, yeah, exactly. So I have to sign here. I'm going to sign here. Yeah. Yes.
Last week.
Last week. Congratulations. Nice one. And what are you using the proceeds for?
Thank you.
Finished process.
Thank you.
What
No,
do
the proceeds, the use of the proceeds, the funds, what will you use them for?